Oh, we're doing it. We're doing it.
We're doing it. Hi, everyone.
What's up, Tina?
What's up?
Hold on. I think I can. There we go. Boom. Music stopped. All right. We did it. Yeah. How's it going, everybody? Welcome to Status Coup. I am Placone.
And I am Tina-Desiree Berg, and we don't have Colin with us today, so Ron and I are running our own live stream. Bear with us.
Well, we got Dean helping us on the ones and twos, but I'm gonna be Dean's on the ones. I'm taking over on the twos. Colin usually does the ones and twos for the duration, but and the threes. Yeah, Colin also rocks it on the threes. But here's what happened, folks. Colin is in the area known as Southern California, and I gave him a couple California salads, like we call them, and he wandered off. He just wandered off. That's what. So Colin's on vacation, and yeah. So I'm gonna be doing the thing here. Let me just test something real quick for just. Oh man, that's my. There we go. All right. Next, we got yeah. So I'll
followed me from Modesto, apparently.
I'll be doing the ones and twos. We're going to be watching some of your She just went out and made a bunch of friends out in Modesto.
Something like that.
We have an amazing show, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. Please do smash that like button. Smash it. Smash it very, very hard. We have an amazing show for you. A lot of news. It is a little bit of an odd ship today because I'm on the ones and twos. Colin's not with us, and Tina's actually feeling a little bit under the weather. But we're here for you, and we're gonna have a blast. And we're so excited to see everybody. And we got a lot of news to cover. We got the water crisis in Mississippi that nobody's talking about. No one's talking about this,
which is crazy.
It is crazy.
No water. How is this?
They have no water. Literally, like that sort of. If you needed. What's the main bullet point? They have no water. We're not embellishing. We're not. No. That's legit. What's going on? We're gonna get more into it. And of course, our own Jordan Sheraton. Jordan's been on the ground there. So Status Coup has been on top of this. And we also have some digital rights news. Facebook is suppressing abortion information. We're gonna dive into that and some updates on that. We have Tina's footage from Modesto again. Always making friends. That Tina. She's just always going out there. And then Biden loves cops, guys, and he has an update on how much he loves cops. And then
meltdown, like
Trump's having a meltdown.
QAnon free.
Let's go there first. So that's where we're going to
go there first. Okay.
All right. So check this out. Here's a thread here. QAnon forums are obviously ecstatic and bloodthirsty after Trump's Q endorsing tweet storm. This morning, they had been relatively dead in the last few months with users headed over to general Trump forums, but now they're pretty stoked because Trump apparently approved of this meme. I guess he shared it.
Yes, he did.
Let's read it because this is. I mean, this is the deep state whispered to President Trump, "You cannot withstand the storm."
You can't.
The president whispered back, "I am the storm." And Trump approved of this because it, paints him in a flattering light, and so everybody is all excited that he's jumping on board with their political fan fiction, which is what all that stuff is. It is political fan fiction, making up these ridiculous ideas that Trump is some kind of hero working behind the scenes, and it's all part of the plan.
That's not the whole story. He kept going. That was just one of many. So for people that don't know, QAnon uses the storm. This is a reoccurring thing with QAnon things. I'm actually on his social now. I'm going to read some.
Here's more of it. The QAnon lore states that Donald Trump will say, "My fellow Americans, the storm is upon us." Is that where you're at?
No. I'm actually on his Truth Social, but yeah, let's read some of those. Those look like those are posts that Ben pulled off of QAnon or 8chan, the 8chan, the new rebirth
8chan,
one.
Right. Okay.
So these are actually QAnon lunatics responding to the post inside the 8chan. It looks like.
This is so he shared so NBC's even reporting on this. They're saying he shared a bunch of QAnon content. Now I'm guessing he shared it on the Truth Social.
Right. Yeah, right? He shared on Truth Social. Like, so he said, where one goes all. Like, that's just a standard QAnon meme. But this has been going on for almost 2 days, and he's been posting multiple tweets an hour. The fake news media is devastated by how well Truth is doing. So quite on cue, they are working overtime to criticize and demean it. Actually, many of the big guns in Washington, D.C. are fighting to stop the truth, but they won't be successful. They're going after the outside financial company, virtually anybody that walks and breathes, but that won't do it. They said it is doing worse since the raid, but actually is doing much better, up more than 550%. What are you talking about? We all love truth. So
I thought it was not doing great, actually.
It's not doing great. But again, so let's talk about the fact it's called Truth Social. So Truth Social. So when you retruth something, that's sort of like a retweet. They call it a retruth. But nothing, truth is really loosey-goosey here. In my opinion, I have a very sort of strict definition of truth. Truth to me is something that is verifiable, objective, the whole nine. Then anything after that is going to be more likely, less likely. That's just my philosophy of science background. But
so Trump fan fiction does
not qualify. It's what
it probably came pretty close. Like, it was right on the cusp, but you had to make a game time call. Doesn't qualify.
No, it doesn't qualify. But again, these are folks that think that you can have your own personal truth, so to speak. Not in the sense that I know folks use that term as like, I have a personal truth. They want to speak their truth on something. That's different. That's somebody talking about what feels right for them. What these guys are doing is basically saying, I've decided what facts are. The facts are what I say they are, and that's just it. There's nothing more to it. So it's become to the point where they could say the sky is purple stripes, and these guys would be like, yes, that's a fact. I mean, that's ridiculous. It's really quite tainted version of truth. And then he just does his 2-letter ones, witch hunt. He's going on about the FBI being a leftist organization. Kid you not.
That is, man. I mean, some of the imaginations people have. It's like, there's the level of imaginations where, like, there's some where you're kind of listening to them, and this goes like beyond just QAnon, but like, there's some where you're listening to them and you're like, wow, I wish that was the world we lived in. Like people who are like, Biden is a radical socialist. I freaking wish. That sounds amazing. When that happens, call me. But then there's other people, who entertain Trump is the hero behind some expose. And it really is. I mean, I can't define it any better than that. It's political fan fiction.
It is political fan fiction. Here's another good one. The raid on my home, Mar-a-Lago, is one of the most egregious assaults on democracy in the history of our country.
I can't think of any other one. I can't think of anything else they've done.
I know, it's just ridiculous. Which is, by the way, going to places in a very bad way it has never seen before. Invasion of privacy, all in cap letters. 8 of 10 voters in a major poll say that the laptop from hell, that's a reference to Hunter Biden's laptop, cover-up played a major role in the 2020 presidential election result. The FBI and the laptop, but refused to divulge information because that would be bad for Biden. Even worse, sold the story to media as Russian disinformation, knowing that was fake news. But don't feel bad. Far worse things took place during our rigged and stolen election. And our country...
Oh, yeah, he's back on that. He's back on that.
He's back on that. Anyway, but like every 2 seconds, he's been posting some crazy stuff on here, having a complete meltdown.
Well, I mean, not everybody is convinced. Should we go over to Ann Coulter before we switch off the topic?
No, yeah, let's go over to Ann Coulter because I think this is a very interesting story that Mediaite put out. Can't get that out. So apparently on her podcast this week, she's claiming that it's over for Trump. He's done. He's polling poorly.
So here's what she had to say. Stop sucking up to Donald Trump. That was the core message of her podcast. So I didn't know about her podcast. It's called Unsafe. That's her podcast. It's so ridiculous. Just so ridiculous. Unsafe. We're saying that I'm so unsafe. I've only platformed on one of the biggest news networks on the planet because I'm so censored. You're on one of the biggest news networks on the freaking planet. I'm so, but they tell you what to say. No, but like, okay, cool. But her unsafe podcast. That's so unsafe. She's on the biggest news network in the world all the time. Let's see what Trump's done, echoing a statement she made in a column in January. So she hasn't been mixing it up since January. She said, well, this is actually kind of a funny observation. She says that the people still go to MAGA rallies. They're like deadheads. They're like the anti-deadheads, right? They're like the opposite of deadheads. They're like the deadheads, except that peace, love, and understanding. We want to flip that. We want war, hate, and we don't understand shit, except for the memes we make. They're following him from place to place. He sings the same songs, which are whatever songs he's actually allowed to use.
Yeah.
Because most musicians are like, don't use our music.
Use my music.
Which it's always funny when that happens. And by the way, that doesn't just happen to Trump. That happens to like tons of Republican politicians.
Oh, my favorite thing.
And it's never not funny.
No, Dee Snider, who, if anybody has missed this, Dee Snider from Twisted Sister. Do you remember that song, We're Not Going to Take It? All of these guys want to use that music at their rallies, right? All of these. So he's been just losing his mind on Twitter, saying, stop using my music, you dumb fascists. The reason I wrote this song is because of fascists like you. You are the ire that I am after in my song. Stop using my music. So it's kind of funny. He's been having a huge meltdown.
Yeah. I mean, I saw that. And I actually think Dee Snider might live in my neighborhood too. Side note.
We should get him.
We see him walking. I've seen him walking around at least twice. So I don't know. He might have been filming something or making something in San Pedro. Who knows? But
who knows?
But I don't know, we're like, maybe he has a house here or something. I think he's an East Coast guy. But anyway, so that's a fun side note. So Ann Coulter, she's not convinced. She's saying he's done so. I feel like it's somebody grasping for relevancy, lurching onto somebody else grasping for relevancy. It's like a relevancy squared between the whole group of them.
Oh, I agree.
Because this is the first time I've seen Ann Coulter in a headline in like well over a year.
Right. But the folks that are dedicated to this neo-fascist ideology aren't going anywhere. I think they are going to vote for Trump. I think they also like Ann. It's really interesting to me that Ann's going after Trump for that reason. And I do think if Trump doesn't get indicted for anything serious, will run again and probably secure the election. If not, it'll be DeSantis, who is also, toe-to-toe with fascist ideology.
We've talked about this. I think DeSantis is a million times more dangerous. I mean, it's you hate to compare. I mean, it's like they're all terrible, but
he's just less of a clown. He's more
he's more competent.
Exactly.
He's more competent. And you even see now, like, the people who kind of passively accept what that dude's about. The people who, passively accepted the bill in Florida, the Don't Say Gay bill and stuff like that, because they didn't really, they're like, oh, it's just about parental choice. It's like, did you actually read it? No, it's a lot more than that. And just the stuff that he does.
Yeah.
That people passively go along with, because he knows how to put a kind of universal coding on it that people are just going to kind of go along with. And I know not everybody's with me on that one. I know some people are still like, oh no, Trump. I'm like, I'm telling you, man, DeSantis, I will stand by it. Most dangerous guy in American politics by far.
I think they're both dangerous. But notice that oftentimes you'll see these folks making, the reason they like Trump, we've seen this from day one, right? It's because he's saying drain the swamp. You guys aren't getting a fair shake as the working class. Wealthy people are the enemy. I'm not part of that, which is all bullshit. He's part of the party.
Yeah.
But for some reason, they believe this guy still, even to this day, when he says these things. Ron DeSantis, I think, is going to have a little bit more difficult time with that group for that reason. I think DeSantis is viewed more as an elitist than Trump ever has been. And I think that's part of the appeal for Trump.
But I think he'll get more votes from just kind of regular people who maybe are sort of middle of the road.
Fascist?
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying, because he disguises it better.
He does. I don't disagree with that, but I think
I think that's insanely dangerous. That's way more dangerous.
Listen, I'm not saying it's not dangerous. I think they're both very dangerous. And I also say a lot of those middle of the road Republicans, like the old business guys, I hate to say this, they're coming for the Democratic Party. A lot of them have, decided that in the last election that they were voting for Democrats because of various reasons, more stability, whatnot. But that's problematic because that's just going to be another influence pulling the party to the right, in my opinion.
No, I agree, but I mean, I think those people would totally go for DeSantis. Like they would go for DeSantis, just like they'll go for a Joe Biden. I mean, you do have those never Trump. I mean, I don't know. It's tough to say. So much is going to happen.
The Republican base is going to vote for a Republican no matter what.
Yeah. Well, and 2024 is still a while.
Yeah. Leftists tend to be like less committed or loyal to stay with Democrats, right? Even though they're on the left,
they don't represent us. I mean, it's because they don't. The Democrats
don't care on the base. They're going to vote for a Republican no matter what. Whether it's Trump or DeSantis, that loyal base is going to go that way. So it's what they have to do.
That at least is like reflexive of their ideology. I mean, like the Republican ideology is like we're for rich people and we don't care. Democrats are pretty much the same way, but they have to like sugarcoat it a little bit. So it's like actual lefties in this country, like we don't feel any affection for the Democratic Party. It's just most people, they're just like, well, what choice is there? There's either a Democrat or a Republican in most cases. And that's what, in my opinion, needs to change big time.
Oh, that I agree.
But it's like, I mean, and I do get a little like squeamish when people talk about just like, well, what about the loyalty that it's just like, wait a second. If you're a leftist in the United States, there's no major political party you should have any loyalty to because none of them, I mean, in any other pseudo-democratic experiment, the Democrats would be considered a far-right party, not even a center-right. I think center-right's too generous. They'd be considered a far-right party, and the Republicans, there's really nothing like it. There's nothing like it. Not power.
I don't know.
Power.
I think the Italian fascist party is pretty close.
But that's not a part. That's not a major party with power. The major parties with power is like Forza Italia and stuff like that. And then like
I just say historically we've seen close and worse. I don't know that
we've seen that.
We've seen that. Not to go there, but I do think that the fact though that Trump continues to appeal to these folks on this idea that he's not part of the elite is part and parcel to the conversation, because you do see it in the forums, you see it on Telegram, you see a lot of the reasons these guys are continuing to support him is because they believe that he's not part of the global elite. I also think it's worth having a conversation about the folks that in 2010 supported Obama and then are now fully QAnon and supporting Trump. There's a group of folks like that. That's not a debate. And I've spoken to many of them out on the street at protests.
There's people who supported Bernie.
That's right. 100%.
And so, well, should we talk about why?
Well, we don't talk about it, but we do have to talk about it as a country, because these folks are definitely been red-pilled, so to speak. They have definitely gone in that direction. In my opinion, the country needs like a very serious intervention. They're entering like cult mentality now. I mean,
No, it is a cult. They're not. I mean, it is a cult. Like it's already there. I mean, and we should move on to other things here in a second. But I mean, to kind of put a period on what you just said, I think there's an element to this whole thing, like QAnon and stuff like that. There's a huge element, and I'm not excusing any of it, by the way, but there's a huge element where it is the result of desperation. These are people who are like desperate, and they've been left behind their entire freaking lives because they've known nothing but intense Reaganism their entire freaking lives. Yeah. So they were like, well, maybe Bush is going to make my life better. Oh no, he didn't. I thought Clinton was, but he didn't. Bush didn't. This Obama guy, he's all about hope and change, but oh wait, my life still got worse. Trump, he's the one. Trump, my life is still kind of, so they're oh well, Trump is actually a good guy. It's part of this longer plan. Okay, so there is a plan. I feel a little more comfortable now.
The plan is
desperation, and it's absurd. I mean, it's absurd, but it's desperation. That's why why a lot of people latch on to this stuff, especially if like they were. Before then, they were connecting with something like Bernie, someone who actually really did want to change the status quo.
I agree.
They saw what they did to Bernie, so they're like, well, maybe Trump is part of some big, I mean, it's sad. There's an element that's really sad. I mean, yeah, like there's a lot of funny stuff that they put out there, but there's an element of it that is like truly sad.
It is very sad. No, it is sad. And sometimes when I talk to these folks, I feel like you just want to say, do you need a hug? Like, how can I help you get out of this nightmare mentality you're in? Because you don't even hear yourself. They're just, you're right, they're desperate. And part and parcel to this problem is the left. I've said this before, I'll say it again. The left didn't provide a left exit. There needed to be a left exit to income inequality in the country. There needs to be something done about the rabid, pay scales that are, very much filtering money to the top. It's stagnant at the top. It's not circulating through the economy. Most people that make minimum wage can't pay for their rent. And, this idea like tough luck, that's you're out on your own, that's coming from both parties. They don't care. So this is where we're at. I mean, this idea of red pilling, even black pilling for some folks because they're nihilist, right? It didn't come out of left spaces. It didn't come out of right spaces. It didn't come out of nowhere. There's a really clear trajectory of how we got to the place we are today. The question is what do we do about it now? I mean, we're now at such a far gone point where they're calling the FBI leftists. That's crazy, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's just the most like, oh my God. I mean, so yeah, I mean, and it will be interesting to see how over the next few years these kind of internet subcultures evolve and where they'll go next. Because I mean, it's just it's time to be alive.
It is a great time, or interesting time to be alive. Part and parcel to it too is we've seen an absolute erosion in our government institutions with public trust. Right? Public doesn't trust SCOTUS now. Right? SCOTUS is,
just to be fair, that's a legit distrust. I mean that's the thing. Like,
I'm not saying these distrusts are not out of left field as well, but I'm saying it's part and parcel to why the country is becoming so nihilistic, susceptible to sort of culty QAnon things, right? Out of the desperation that you're talking about. But I think public trust has to be restored if we're going to get anywhere. And right now, the opposite.
They're not doing anything to earn that. I mean that's the thing. It's like happening. When you talk to people, like if you talk to just a regular person from like Denmark, for instance, and I'm not saying Denmark is like a utopia with no problems. Of course, such a place does not exist. But Denmark has a much better social system than we do. And, if you talk to someone from Denmark just about like the total disdain and mistrust of institutions, they just wouldn't understand it. Like most of the time, like they wouldn't understand where you're coming from. Meanwhile, it's like a lot of Americans are like, justified in feeling that way. They have their reasons. But like someone from a place like Denmark, they'd be like, oh, you don't trust the government? What do you mean? Like most of my friends and family work for the government. The government is just, I pay taxes and in return I get education and I get healthcare. It has its problems, but that's how our society works. And it works pretty freaking good. They wouldn't understand just the straight up mistrust and disdain, reluctancy to pay taxes because you don't get anything for it. I mean, that just doesn't make sense to a lot of other countries that actually operate like countries. Again, not saying they're perfect. They're not, but they operate like countries, something we haven't really tried yet. So,
at least not since FDR, I'd say.
Well, and let's go to Mississippi now. Because, I mean, you want to talk about this is what's happening in the United States, a first world country, so we're told. No one's talking about this. Latest, 180,000 people in Jackson. That's Jackson, Mississippi. Johnny Cash even wrote the song about it.
Right.
How would you feel right now? Jackson, although I don't, maybe that song's about Jackson, Tennessee. I don't know for sure. I mean, you're led to believe it's Mississippi, but 180,000 people in Jackson will be without safe water for drinking or even brushing their teeth for an unknown period of time. Mississippi Governor Tate Reeves said in an emergency press briefing, and he warns, don't drink the water. State leadership have warned all residents of Mississippi's capital city to boil water before drinking or even brushing their teeth.
This is scary.
In many cases, it is raw water from the reservoir being pushed through the pipes. So they just straight up don't have functioning water. They're not doing that anymore. They don't have it anymore.
No, yes. And there's also no time frame put on when the water is going to be back.
Yeah, they have no like.
That's crazy.
So can Jordan was down there covering this.
Yeah, Jordan interviewed somebody down there. We should play part of that.
People down there. So let's take a look at this. Here we go. Let me get the volume going here.
I will say that the governor, this is what we're seeing here in the city of Jackson, as you have stated, is a direct failure of our state government. This has gone on for 20 or maybe 30 plus years, right? I knew that Jackson had water problems when I came here to Jackson, Mississippi from Greenwood, Mississippi in 1991. It was never safe to brush your teeth or to drink the water. And so now we are here in 2022 and a governor who has totally neglected the plight of the infrastructure here in the capital city of Mississippi, and that's Jackson, Mississippi. And so even the governor's refusal to allocate or appropriate funds for infrastructure this legislative session because he did not trust the Black leadership that was leading the city of Jackson, right? And so we keep seeing these racist these extreme policies that are being put in place and extreme neglect that are putting over 175,000 people in the city of Jackson in direct harm and danger because of petty politics. And we can no longer afford to play these kind of games with the governor. However, the mayor on yesterday declared a state of emergency before the governor declared a state of emergency. The governor failed to include the mayor in his press conference on yesterday for whatever reason, but you make plans for a city and exclude the city leadership. That goes to show again the ignorance and petty politics of this state governor here in Mississippi, Governor Tate Reeves. The long-term effect, the residents, we know as residents that this is not an overnight process where the water will be fixed.
Wow.
Yeah, no, it's bad. I want to read some of his press conference because it's pretty insane. So this is Reeves being quoted in the press release. This is a very different situation from a boil water notice. Until it is fixed, we do not have reliable running water at scale. The city cannot produce enough water to fight fires, to flush toilets, and to meet other critical needs. The Mississippi Emergency Management Agency will take the state's lead on distributing drinking water and non-drinking water to the residents of the city of Jackson. I mean, there's not enough water to flush toilets and fight fires, let alone drink. I mean, this is very bad news.
This is what a collapsing society looks like.
100%. So he goes on to say, the main pumps had recently been damaged severely about the same time as the prolonged boil water notice began. The facility is now operating on smaller backup pumps. So this is not keeping your infrastructure up to speed, obviously. They put out a boil water notice, and while that happened, the main pumps completely just copped out. And so they have no idea when they're going to have those pumps up and running again.
I mean, you just don't. It's just baffling, and this happens all throughout the country. I mean, this is a very severe example, but you saw the same thing in Texas when the power grid couldn't handle the extreme weather, and so it just collapsed, and people were deciding, do I want to flush the toilet this time, or should I wait another day because I only get one flush, however often it was. You saw even here in California. I mean, even PG&E, they didn't update stuff the way they needed to because they didn't want to piss off their shareholders, right? And that was the cause of a lot of our fire issues.
Right.
I mean, so when you're susceptible to fires anyway, because you never get any freaking rain in the climate, and the climate is changing, and then you just don't bother keeping your infrastructure up to date because we wouldn't run and rob our shareholders of a couple extra freaking pennies.
Yeah, it's either they're robbing the shareholders, and so these corporations that are doing private utilities, they want to protect profits at the expense of maintaining things, or it's at the other end where you still have public utilities and they just don't have the tax dollars coming in because of the way the government has been starved, by policy that's been put in place by these small government groups, especially in, red states versus green states, much more so the case there in places like Mississippi. And they don't have the ability to keep the infrastructure up and going as well. So Jackson is mainly a Black community and it's poor. So So, that was a choice that was made in Mississippi by the governor, right? So, even though that's the capital of the state, it doesn't mean that it's, where all the wealthy people live.
Yeah, it's
so I think there's definitely a racist element to this, and I think there is definitely a racist element to a lot of the environmental catastrophes that we view. Also, poverty, right? They always put, if it's a poor area, they're more likely to get away with this nonsense. But this is
that's what they do all throughout the country. I mean, I remember when I was in Houston, Texas, there was this park that somebody recommended us to go to when Graham and I were on tour, and we went to it, and it was like one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen. So this oil company basically came in, and it was originally, like it's right near a school and a park, and it was also like a neighborhood, and they said, hey, we're building here. Everybody in the community was eventually just forced out, except for one person. There's one person who would not give. So they literally have their house in the middle of like an oil manufacturing place. Like I've never seen anything like it. There's just one person's house, and I guess they live there. And of course, the air is not safe at all. And the school's still going. In fact, it's so depressing. The kids, the kids who went there, they did a mural on the wall, and the mural that they made of their school, they made it accurately. So there's them playing, and then in the background, there's this oil well giving off a bunch of pollution. And they didn't even mean for it to be look like something out of a dystopian comic book. It freaking does. And it's so heartbreaking. I mean, it is so heartbreaking. And stuff like that goes on all around the country because they just use our land as something to be exploited. And this is why, this is why capitalism straight up needs to end. This is why, I mean, you can't have capitalism and be stewards to the earth. It just can't happen. You can't have both. We need to end fossil fuels and end capitalism, or our stay on this planet is only going to be so long. We can't.
It's only going to be so long. Yeah, we need to do something about it.
A frickin' bug, because you can't. I mean, it's just. And this is, again, why stuff like local politics is so freaking important, because you have, there's either going to be someone who wants to make your community better or someone who wants to exploit it in most cases. And you need to migrate to those people who want to make it better. And if you only have people who want to exploit it, well, then you got a lot of work to do, because you got to rally some folks in your neighborhood, because there's always going to be people who would rather it be better. So, I mean, it's. When you see stuff like this, and this is not an isolated thing, Flint, Michigan is not an isolated thing. There's other places going through the same stuff. And what Flint is going on in Flint is absolutely terrible. And it's because, they did all this treasonous stuff. And thanks to, Jordan and Status Coup, I mean, that's one of the few outlets covering this stuff. I mean, the corporate media, I mean, they talked about it, I think, one day or something like that. They never freaking bring it up. They have all the resources in the world financially. They don't cover anything. Meanwhile, like independent outlets like this, based on people's support, people who go out of their way to support independent journalism, they allow these stories to actually be told. I mean, it's bad. Wow. It is just something. It's to the point, like, people don't have water.
No, they don't have water. So just to tie up the end of this of what he said, we will cash flow the operation, and the city will be responsible for half of the cost of the emergency improvements that we make. I want to make something very clear to those operators we have been and will be reaching out to. You will be paid for your work. The state is owning that guarantee. So the state is owning the guarantee for these guys to do the emergency work and repairs that is necessary on the plant. There's no time frame. Not only is there no time frame being given when it will be done, they're actually saying it might completely cop out any day now. So what little bit is online, the emergency backup pumps might also cop out. So this is just an absolute disaster.
What amazing leadership. Wow. Don't you just sleep easy at night? Wow. Well, so that's going on in Mississippi. And, stay tuned to places like this to even hear about it, because that's where you'll hear about it. Smash the like button, folks. Don't just push it. Smash it. Smash that like button. That like button doesn't know you. It doesn't respect you. You need to show that like button who is boss. And you say, listen, like button, you're liking the Status Coup stream, especially when Ron and Tina are on. And Ron's doing the ones and twos. He doesn't do the ones and twos often. but he's doing it today. Shout out to Dean, who's also helping out on the ones and two, who help out with the countdown. Yeah.
It's so funny.
So smash that like button. Smash it. Smash it.
Just don't break the computer while smashing it.
Go easy on the computer. Just the like button. That's the place. But so Joe Biden always says the right thing at the right time. He always, right now, he is on. He's really going to the mat for Mississippi. He's talking about how water is a human right. That's totally what he's doing. Oh wait, no, he's talking about how much he loves cops. I'm sorry.
And how we need more cops.
I got confused for a second. Biden stresses police funding. He's in Pennsylvania right now, a battleground state. Biden stresses police funding, crime prevention, and visit to political battleground Pennsylvania, because that's what everyone's concerned about. They're all like, do we have enough cops? I don't know. President Biden traveled to Wilkes-Barre, PA, where he discussed funding police, his efforts at crime prevention, and the bipartisan bill to combat gun violence that he signed into law in June, the first measure in nearly 3 decades. When it comes to public safety in this nation, the answer is not defund the police; it's fund the police. Biden told the crowd. I love that doozy. By the way, I love that. Do you remember when he pulled that out in the debate? Biden.
Yeah, it's just so frustrating. Biden doesn't seem to understand the problem. When people say defund the police, what they're actually talking about is the fact that in most cities, and in LA, it's I think it's 52% right now. LAPD takes 52% of the LA budget, and they are tasked with covering things that they are not equipped or trained to handle, right? Like mental health calls. And what they're when people say defund the police, what they're talking about is like, let's take some of this LAPD budget and put it into services that would make more sense, that would end with less violent deaths for no reason. For example, how many times have LAPD officers killed homeless folks, for example, or killed folks that were having mental health crises, right? So these things could have been handled differently. And it's not just in LA, it's across the country. We've seen this playing out, right? So Biden doesn't seem to understand that. What we're basically saying is, Biden, listen, these guys
to understand,
or he chooses not to. Yeah, that might be the case.
All do. Look, you can explain defund the police in a frickin' meme because a bunch of people have done it. There's the ice cream meme where it shows like this is what defunding the police actually is. And there's this big heap of ice cream on the police budget, and they're like, defunding the police means you take a scoop of that ice cream. They have way too much. You take a scoop of it, you put it here at social services. You take a scoop, you put it on education. Take another scoop here, you put it on parks. Right now, they're getting all that frickin' ice cream. They don't need all that ice cream.
No, like the idea that you call 911 and you automatically end up with the SWAT team out your house is insane. Like, so it should be the case you call 911, and if it's somebody having a very serious mental health crisis, who should show up to that? Armed officers or people that are trained to deal with mental health crises. I mean, the point being is there are ways to handle these things differently and in a more effective ways than what's happening now.
Yeah, and there's another defund the police.
It's controversial, but I don't know why people seem to come from this place of like, that's just, you cannot touch, the law enforcement budget. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, no, it totally is. And people don't quite grasp what it actually is. I mean, there's another defund the police meme where they show a police officer that has kind of like what you listed, like mental health crises, all these other things that shouldn't be under their scope, and they're carrying all these burdens, and it's like breaking their back. And then it's like defunding the police means taking these, putting it over here.
I would imagine that a lot of police officers are actually okay with that. I think they know they're not equipped to handle these things.
Well, when you think about it, the job in general is absolutely absurd. I mean, just the fact, I mean, that's why, like, I'm, on a personal level, like, I'm an abolitionist. I think we need to just completely end it and restart again. I don't think this can be reformed. I don't think
the sheriff's department can be reformed.
I don't think cops in general can be reformed. I think maybe 30 years ago that was possible. That ship has long sailed. I think you need to abolish and start over again. I think anything less, you're just at best putting a Band-Aid on it. But like, I mean, defunding's a great start, though. I mean, I'm all for defund the police. That's a huge first step. But just the idea of the job is so absurd. You are minimally trained. You're minimally screened. That's why there's so many people with badges and guns that are open members of the KKK. So you're not screened, you're not trained. A lot of times that they suffer from PTSD. You're handed a badge and a gun, and you're put in all kinds of situations where you have no clue how to handle anything. And you're encouraged to just shoot first and ask never.
Yeah, it's crazy. No, it's crazy.
Like, it's the most inefficient, like morally repulsive
The idea that, I agree.
the
idea that they're hiring 19-year-old kids out of high school with absolutely no life experience, no college or after high school education of any sort, and handing them these guns and not really training them is kind of a scary thought, but that's exactly what's happening, which is why they often overreact, don't react properly, don't even know how to have like normal conversations at this point with citizens. I mean, Modesto this weekend was an example of that. I mean, these guys came out looking like RoboCops in these ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous amount of body armor. I've never even seen LAPD wear this amount of body armor. It was insane. And just like they all removed their name tags so nobody would know who they were. Like, you know, it's like you see this shit going on and you're like, this is insane. They act like the civilians they're supposed to be like protecting.
And Biden wants to give more money to it.
They're at war with them. They're at war with like the people they're supposed to protect and serve. That's what it looks like. It's like, are you guys here to protect and serve the civilian population, or are you at war with them? Like, what's happening here?
The latter. I mean, the latter. Because where does the inflation in that budget go? Like the inflation part of that budget, it goes to weapons. It goes to rubber bullets. It goes to, why does a town of 9,000 people need a freaking tank? What do they need that for? Why does a town 9,000 people? The worst crime is someone committing a parking infraction 99% of the time. What do they need a tank for? A cop would make a big mistake drunk on a Saturday night. That's the only reason they would need a tank. And it's the most absurd thing. Like you couldn't write this as a movie script. They'd be like, that's too unbelievable. But no, that's what we actually do. And then you get leadership at the very top, the freaking president of the United States, saying, no, we need to throw more money.
We need more of that. We definitely don't
Paul
need more.
Ryan's School of Politics. Like, we gave it money. It didn't work. Let's give it more money. That'll change it. And this is what he's saying on the trail right now. That this is the guy who failed his way into the presidency. I mean, it's unbelievable. The atrocious failure.
He sort of did. I have to agree with that.
He completely did. The only way, I mean, he failed his entire freaking career from plagiarism in the 80s. He just stumbled into positions. He all of his runs prior to this one were absolutely humiliating. And then he got into the vice president seat, riding Obama's coattails, because Obama wanted to pick someone super unlikable because he's the first freaking black president. I better get an unlikable guy beside me. So he picked Joe Biden. So Joe Biden stumbled into that. And then Joe Biden won because Donald Trump was so painfully incompetent during a freaking pandemic that enough people were like, holy shit, we just gotta, we got whatever. It's this guy. Bernie would have won in a freaking landslide.
Oh, I agree.
I mean,
we would have been much better off with Bernie Sanders as president. And I don't care who gets this. I believe
anyone who doesn't attest to that they think they're being some contrarian edgelord. But yeah, we would have. Would Bernie piss us off if he was president at times? Of course he would. And of course he wouldn't go as hard as a lot of people would want him to. But there's these things called executive orders. All right. Bernie would have done a lot more of them than Biden did. So
I think so.
But anyway. So Biden loves cops. That's his big thing. Here, let's see more of
Okay, and randomly the right hates cops now. I just have to point that out. Which
that's for this week. Give it a week. They'll change.
They don't. But hang on. Let me clarify something. They don't hate cops because of any of the reasons that we're discussing, right? They don't think systemic racism is a problem. They don't think that the police departments have budgets that are too small. They don't think any of that. They're just pissed off that they had the audacity to actually go after their, guy, even though he might have, done something bad.
Yeah. This week they'll like cops again in a week. Some of them are cops. Some of them are cops.
If Hunter Biden tomorrow, that would all change. Let's put it that way. Then all of a sudden it would be like the FBI rocks.
So here's his, I love this one too. Biden addresses the crowd and looks here. Do you want to hear it straight from him? I know whenever he talks, people are inspired.
Give them the kind of help they need.
Here we go. We'll start at the beginning.
I've not met a cop who likes a bad cop.
That's so ridiculous.
There's bad in everything. There's lousy senators. There's lousy presidents. There's lousy.
And you were multiple of those things. He's like, there's lousy senators. There's lousy presidents. You should be saying that into a mirror. All right, let's get the rest.
There's lousy lawyers. No, I'm serious. But I don't know any police officer that feels good about the fact that there may be a lousy cop.
That's so.
I'm tired of not giving the kind of help they need.
These talking points are so.
Wait, has he not heard of the thin blue line? Has he not seen what happened in Baltimore? Has he not seen what happened in the Rampart Division? Does he not see what's happening in the LASD? Like, that's just a fucking provably wrong statement.
They're just a couple bad apples, Tina.
But even if they know there's bad apples, they don't. They're fellow officers who maybe do have a problem with what they're doing. I do believe there are cops that aren't okay with bad cops. I believe that is true. But the question is,
I think they end up leaving.
About it? I don't think that they are.
No, they aren't, because those cops you just described, I do believe that they exist at one point in time, and then they stop being cops very quickly. They are either fired.
About that, or they become whistleblowers and they leave. Like, I have spoken with multiple LAPD whistleblowers that are no longer with the force, and two of them, not going to get into who they are today, have told me point blank that they left the LAPD because of this stuff. They didn't want to be associated with some of the shit that was going on. One of them was at the Rampart Division. And so for folks that don't know what that's about, that was similar to the Baltimore situation. It was a unit that just was so corrupted. They were dealing drugs. They were stealing narcotics from the gangs they were supposed to be policing. It all came crashing down basically one day when the DA went to get evidence from the evidence locker, and the cocaine that had been put in there had been replaced with, wait for it, Bisquick. And so tested negative, and the entire case was obviously derailed. They couldn't prosecute this guy for drug dealing. And it turned out that it was the cops that did that. They replaced the cocaine with Bisquick because they were dealing the fucking narcotics themselves.
You know, they always forget that the entire phrase goes, a bad apple spoils the bunch. They forget that part of it. And it's not just a couple. Whenever people say, like, oh, well, it's just a few bad, it's like, okay, you're talking about a systemic problem. When you look at law enforcement, it is a systemic problem because systemically it's set up this way intentionally.
That's right.
So you can't solve a systemic, like, oh, well, it's a couple, but that would be like saying there's an E. coli outbreak and all the lettuce supply in the country right now is bad, and then taking a shred of lettuce and be like, this one looks okay. No. It's a systemic outbreak.
Yeah,
so,
no, the problem is
also, it's a systemic disease.
It is. And the problem is anybody that does see this stuff that would want to report it, they're afraid to, because, I mean, look at Serpico would be another example, right? The cops that do report this stuff, their bad dealings of fellow officers that are doing bad things, they get threatened, right, by these other cops. And in some cases, there's been attempts on their lives, like literally attempts on their lives because they spoke out against. So Biden just making that ridiculously sort of superficial statement that he's never met a good cop that's okay with bad cops is just absolutely patently an absurd statement.
So
I just can't even believe he said that.
So one more quick thing before we get off of this. Speaking of the systemic problems here, Biden, this system that he wants to put a bunch of money to, here's a side note. The officers who failed Uvalde children in massacre, remember when that happened? There was that school shooting and cops waited outside for 40 minutes. They're allowed to continue working this fall. Local families demand the officer's suspension until evaluations are complete. But no, they're going to be 3 months after the shooting at Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas, and just 8 days before the start of the 2022-23 school year. A promised evaluation of responding school district police officers has not yet started. I mean, they'll get around to it. What's the hurry? And those officers will be allowed to continue working within the district this fall. The board announced Monday evening. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. Gotta love it.
I can't.
Wow. They're still
it.
working. And the school year started. They haven't done this evaluation. What's the hurry? I mean, they'll get around to it.
So, Ron, explain to me how the local law enforcement and sheriff's department in Modesto can come out in the most unbelievable, and I mean most unbelievable body armor I've ever seen by any law enforcement ever. Like, it was insane. To handle a bunch of protesters using their First Amendment rights versus some dude killing children, and these cops are running away with their tails between their legs. That was their time to shine, right? This is what they're supposed to be doing. This is what they're trained for. And they weren't there. They ran away. I mean, I can't even process that.
It's remarkable. The fact that happened. Well, and it gets the best part, and you know, we won't harp on this too long because it's like we all covered it pretty extensively. But I mean, they literally stopped parents from going in there.
Oh my God, I know, that's the worst part.
So the only time they used force was against the parents.
They handcuffed the. I was like, "What are you guys doing? You guys aren't doing anything about it? She wants to save her child. My God."
So you know, to everyone out there,
I have to tell you something. I would have decked that cop. I would have decked him.
Well, look, and to everyone out there, I know sometimes, like when law enforcement comes up, not everybody is quite where I'm at. You tell me. This is to everyone out there. You tell me how this shit we just showed you. You tell me how it can be reformed. I'm curious. Honestly, email me. Tell me how this can be reformed. Explain it. Explain it to me, like I'm a child.
I do think there's some things that can be reformed and some things that need to go away. I think it's a little bit. I have probably a little bit more nuanced opinion.
Well, it needs to end and be.
I think the sheriff's department needs to end.
Cannot.
Sheriffs need to go, period, across the board.
I mean, it's like, how many shootings is it going to take? I mean, it's just like, it's systemic. They have a shooting like pretty much every other day, and it's the same story, and it's been the same story for years and years and years. It's not like Rodney King happened, and then all of a sudden there were more incidents. No, there was incident after incident. We're just hearing about it more because everyone now has a camera on their phone. This can't be.
I agree with you there. I agree with you there.
This can't be reformed. But let's go over to digital rights for a second, and then we'll get to some super chats. So check this out. Facebook, which, you know, this is short after Mark Zuckerberg had his Joe Rogan interview. I've not watched it because I
can't.
I couldn't watch that guy, Mark Zuckerberg. I mean, I don't. Who could talk to that guy for 2.5 hours? What would you say to him? What would you say to that guy for 2.5 hours?
Nothing.
Like, there's no way he has anything that interesting to say for that long. But so I don't know I know. Apparently he revealed some stuff, but I can't speak to that because I just wasn't able to bring myself to watch any of it. But Facebook restricted a Planned Parenthood post telling people about abortion pills. This is Facebook, the left-leaning Facebook, by the way. Remember, they have a left agenda, apparently. Facebook restricted a post from Planned Parenthood.
Everybody has a left agenda now except for the QAnon folks.
They restricted something from Planned Parenthood. The Planned Parenthood, it contained factual information on abortion pills. It also included a link to an article where to obtain abortion pills online. Now, keep in mind, abortion is legal in Michigan. But because we live in a post-Roe world, say that 5 times fast, Facebook is now more than willing to censor abortion information. They've been monitoring people's DMs when it comes to abortion issues, and now they're just doing this where they are straight up just and it's from Planned Parenthood, no less. Not that it would be okay if it was from anyone else. I'm just saying it's from like a major corporate entity, and they're still being like, "Oh, this isn't okay." Wow, just wow. So Facebook's doing that, and this is shortly after, by the way, there was that huge blowing of the whistle over on Twitter where they revealed all the security glitches on frickin' Twitter. Now, not many people talked about this. This was just sort of something that kind of went under the radar. But the most damning allegation in the Twitter whistleblowers report, so the whistleblower was this guy, Peter Mudge Zatko. Here's the big thing right here. I'm just going to read this quick paragraph. Engineers across Twitter had extensive access to the social network's live deployed software platform. Not only that, but there was also minimal monitoring and logging to track who did what in this production environment. That means like anyone who was an engineer had access to everything and could do whatever they wanted. And it pretty much couldn't be tracked. That means they could randomly delete an account. They could do whatever they want. They could look at your DMs. They could do something to your DMs. They could do whatever they want, and you won't even know who did it. So you won't even have recourse. That's the security that they got over Twitter. And in Facebook, they're doing similar things in your private messages. What we need is to encrypt all messages across social media and demand that happen immediately. And here is one place you can go to take action. I'll give a call to action here real quick. You can go to endabortionsurveillance.com. Let me pull it up here for a second. You can go to endabortionsurveillance.com and let your elected officials know that you want to take action. Sign the petition here. And of course, go to antitrustsummer.com to start breaking up these big tech monopolies. Antitrust Summer is still going on. It's going to be revamped pretty soon here, folks. But endabortionsurveillance.com. Please do sign the petition, and because that's happening too. You're not. I mean, who's on your side?
People should not have Facebook on their phones. Take Facebook, take Instagram off your phone. I mean, Facebook is already basically shown everybody who they are. We all know who they are, right? They don't care about your privacy. They're not going to protect it. If you're using Instagram or Facebook messaging, just assume anybody is seeing
It's vulnerable.
Law enforcement to anybody else. I don't use that stuff on my phone. I have two phones. I have this one that I use for communication. I use Signal only. That's what I use. I've normalized using Signal. And I have another phone that has apps on it that I use for filming or posting video, whatnot, while I'm working. Never the two.
Yeah, I mean, but the thing is, it's like regular people shouldn't have to do that. You know, I mean,
that they shouldn't have to, but I just don't know how. There's no other way for you to protect yourself at this point. You're not
right. No, I know. I mean, we can push for better policy. We can push for better data privacy. We can push for antitrust.
If you're concerned, this is what you should do.
Yeah, I mean, but so it's like there are actions we can take, but it's so ridiculous that people.
Google's not any better. We should not be using Google. Like, I don't use Google products. I don't use Chrome. We've had that conversation.
You don't love Google? You don't love?
No, Google's as bad as Facebook as far as.
You don't love YouTube? They're the best. They're. You don't think that algorithm's awesome? You don't celebrate it every day?
No, and you know what? Here's the really sad part. They used to have better search because their algorithm was really sort of based on being better search, but now it's all sort of reformulated to push their own websites, right? So it's not always. Sometimes I search for something on YouTube, and I can put the exact title of something I'm looking for that I know there's a video of, and it won't come up in the search. It's just like page after page after page of their verified accounts or other things that they're trying to serve me instead of what I'm actually looking for. So it's really annoying on top of that.
You know what's very interesting, Tina? There's a place where you can go to take action about what you just said. It's called Antitrust Summer. Literally that thing you just complained about. This is a bill that starts addressing that kind of stuff. Antitrust Summer, sign the petition, endabortionsurveillance.com, sign the petition. We got to fight back, folks. We got to fight back any and every way we can. So should we go to the super chats? Are we ready?
Let's go to the super chat. Yeah.
We got some very amazing super chats today.
Wow. No kidding.
Yeah. Wow. That's right. Well, we'll go in order here. Venetia David, what's up? Ready to get my news on with Ron and Tina. Thank you so much, Venetia. And I hope all is well out in the UK. And I can't wait to see you out there when I go on the road there in 2023. Humorous, what's up? If we can get that like button to 228, I will match that dollar for dollar. Humorous, that's amazing. Which, by the way, if you haven't yet, smash the like button. Take Humorous's advice. Smash it. Don't just push it. Smash it. And you know what's smashing? Now, a lot of times, much like defunding the police, people don't really understand what smashing the like button really means. What smashing the like button really means, you push the like button, then you tell everybody in your phone to also go to the stream right now and push the like button. That's what it really means. That's what smash. No, you don't have to actually do that. But by all means, tell your friends, share it, spread it on your social media, spread the word, and of course, smash that like button. You push the like button and you're like, yeah. You high five the screen, but not too hard. You don't want to mess up your screen. Just a gentle, more like a tap. You know, you just good job, smashed it. So thank you for that, Humorous. And Humorous, you gave us an incredibly generous super chat contribution. Thank you so much. You help keep Status Coup going, and that is so important. You help fund the independent journalism that happens here.
Our trip to Modesto funded now.
Tina's trip to Modesto, Jordan, who goes all over the place, and Tina goes all over the place. Dave D says we're going to get over 200 likes. I always keep my freaking word. Just like if I was president, the entire country would be put back in the hands of the people before they threw me out. Here's the match of 200 likes. Thank you so much, Humorous. That is so incredibly generous. And Humorous goes on to say, anyone that signs up to be a member and Ron and Tina say at the end of the show who they are, I will give $5 to Status Coup. Wow. Is there a way we can find that out? Can we find that out?
Yeah. Did anybody say it would show up where the Dean would know, would show up where the
Dean, is there any way you can reveal if there's any new members? Because they got $5 waiting for them. Or well, Status Coup's gonna get $5.
Venetia David.
Venetia David's back. What's up, Venetia? Thank you so much. Marvin Vargas, social media are government agents with elite shareholders. Well, they're corporate agents, but the government, hey, there's a word for when the corporate state and the government state are married. I forget what it is. I think Mussolini came up with it, but there's a word for that. It starts with an F, ends with an ism. But Humorous, you're back again. Let's hear it for all the moderators that keep this channel sane. Dave, Paul, they're all there, and they keep the crazies off. Everybody has a right to speak, but you can't attack other people doing it. So I don't know what went on in the chat, but maybe something.
We get all kinds of crazies all the time.
I guess there was some activity in the chat.
Really anti-Semitic people too that say like horrible things. Yes, thank you, moderators. Some anti-Semitic people that say horrible things.
Oh, jeez, yeah, yuck. Well, thank you for that, Humorous. Thank you very much. And Humorous, thank you so much for this amazing generosity. This is absolutely incredible. Thank you so very much. It is infinitely important. And of course, thank you to Venetia. Thank you to Marvin, excuse me. Sorry about that. Venetia, Marvin, Humorous again, and Venetia David. Thank you guys so much for your super chat contributions and to help keep this show on the air. Was I okay on the ones and twos? Was it okay? Does it?
You didn't do the siren thing enough. What's that new?
Here, hold on. Let me get it back. Here, let me get another. Here, wait. We got one more. Whoa! Here, hold on. Hey, what is our political ideology? Can someone tell me?
But I have to say, we're capitalist.
No, that's not right. Is there another one? There's got to be a different one. That's not it.
I'm not sure.
That's not it. Here, let's play this one.
For lack of a better word,
is good.
Greed.
No, I don't like that. I don't like that either. Come on. Hey, do you have them or no?
Ladies and gentlemen, we got them. Ladies and gentlemen.
I guess they do. Sorry. So there's that. Can we watch, before we sign off here, can we watch a little bit of your Modesto adventure?
Yeah, let's definitely play that.
So guys, before we sign off for the day, we will see a little bit of footage of Tina's, what was it? It was a group dating activity. What was the thing again?
All right. So the last 4 years in Modesto, they've had something called a Straight Pride Rally, which is exactly how that sounds. So I went up this year to cover it, and there was a very large counter protest that had started early in the morning, staked out in front of the Planned Parenthood there, which was supposed to be the rally point for the straight pride folks. I was really excited. Daryl Lamont Jenkins was there. He flew in from New Jersey. He's just a great interview. I talked to him for quite a bit. For folks that don't know who he is, he's been an activist for decades now. He's confronted just about every Nazi on the planet, from Richard Spencer to Gerald Taylor. He goes to American Renaissance every year. He was at Charlottesville. So, and he's very effective at communicating. So it was kind of fun to see him show.
Let's watch a little bit of
Why
this.
you started planning this event? I guess this is your 4th year? Or?
Yes, this is the 4th Straight Pride event in Modesto. And our event is meant to be in front of Planned Parenthood because they're the biggest killers of blacks in the history of our nation. They've killed over 20 million blacks. So if you go to blackgenocide.org, it documents the historical and religious reasons behind that attack, which is continuing to this day. So we're here to defend. We say all lives matter. We celebrate all life. And we want to celebrate black lives too, and to stop them from being the genocide of the black community.
So you're taking a stance not only against gay marriage but also abortion. Is that correct?
Yes. Well, we
Okay.
stand. Our motto at the Straight Pride Coalition is normal, natural, healthy, sane. So we do oppose sodomite marriage, and we do oppose the sodomite community in multiple ways, such as they're currently trying to mutilate children via transgenderism. So we totally oppose that. We're celebrating a Christian culture of life, and everything that you see, when you see a sodomite parade, you're seeing a satanic religious ceremony. So everything that we do is the opposite of what they do. We celebrate masculinity, real men. We celebrate women being, it's okay to be a woman. We celebrate babies born and unborn, the nuclear family, men, women, and children. Western civilization, the foundation of all that we have, and Christianity, the foundation religion of our nation. So we celebrate all that. We urge people to celebrate life and oppose death.
Why don't you turn to God, folks? Why don't you stand for truth? Turn to Jesus Christ.
You should have been aborted! You should have been aborted!
Oh, sorry.
All right. So, wow, nice family affair. You had a good time. Wow.
It was wild. Everybody should go watch the whole clip. The Daryl Lamont Jenkins interviews comes, I think, probably after that. But basically, there was a short exchange between the two sides.
Was that police officer? Was he pointing his weapon at the counter protesters, or was that?
Yes, the counter protesters.
Oh, go figure, right? That's.
In fact, at one point, one of them got shot point blank by a beanbag round. She was hurt pretty badly.
Wow. Well, thank you for covering it, and everybody, check out that entire footage. That's on Status Coup's channel right now, right? You can check out the entire video. Tina went there, put herself on the line, as she often does. Tina's been punched in the face. Tina's been made into an inaccurate meme. There's a meme where the guy was, I'm gonna make it not Tina, even though it's Tina. That the guy he hit you, right?
Yeah.
So they made a meme of.
And I think he turned me into a man and then put an Antifa sticker on my helmet.
Tina became a taller man, and she had an Antifa sticker that was not on because she wasn't wearing. Were you wearing it?
And he got my press credentials. It was really like, but it didn't get there overnight. He morphed this photo. It was in the LA Times. He morphed it like in stages. It didn't go all the way to that extreme all at once. He did it in stages, but he kept getting pushback for it, so to speak.
So check out Tina's extensive coverage in Modesto. Will she become another meme in the future? We're all waiting to find out. Desbush Flesh, what's up? How are you? I hope all is well in Germany. I have an Oculus VR headset, and I'll have to create a Meta account to continue using it after the end of the year. I'm not sure if I'll do that.
They bought Oculus, didn't they? I forgot about that.
Yeah.
That sucks.
Yeah. Well, there's so many mergers going on right now that are so frightening, which we'll be covering in the future. But
is there any independent VR companies at this point? VR is really interesting technology. It'd be great.
I agree. Off the top of my head, I don't know, but that's a great question.
I mean, I'd like to be able to film. I bought an actual VR camera at a CES. It was on sale. It was like one of those clearance things for a couple $100, and I haven't used it yet because I haven't quite figured out how to use it. But it would be super cool if you could film like some of these protest areas with that 360 thing going.
Yeah,
it's got like both sides. And I mean, it would be really wild because it would feel like you were standing right there next to me in the protest as it was happening.
Oh well, hey, I guess it's something to hope for. Something to hope for, along with a police force that actually serves to protect, a president who has a clue what's going on, running water, and what else? Digital rights, actual data privacy, lots of things that we're striving for that hopefully someday. But real quick, everybody who gave today, Despos Flesh, thank you so much. Venetia, Marvin, Humorous, thank you so much for your contribution and for matching everything. That's so amazing. And again, Venetia, David, again, thank you guys so much. I'll mention real quick before we sign out, I have a show coming up September 10th in the San Pedro neighborhood here in Los Angeles. It's actually not a stand-up show. I'm doing a historical interpretation of Lucian, the writer who goes all the way back to 125 AD. You don't need to know anything about him to enjoy the show. It's at 2 p.m. It's outdoors. It's free. And it's going to be a fun time. So September 10th, 2 p.m. at the Corner Store, which is a place in the San Pedro neighborhood. I will see you there. Tina, anything else you got to say before we get out of here?
No, just that it's really hot. Everybody try to stay cool. It's like 100 degrees over here today. It's going to be 106 on Thursday.
Not in my neck of the woods, but yeah, I know it's a pretty bad heat wave where you're at.
Yeah, it's pretty intense right now. So
it's going to get a little hot here too.
My bun, I'm like, it's so hot I couldn't like.
Make sure you keep Hypatia hydrated.
Yeah, it's really hot today. So just everybody try to stay cool because we're not the only neighborhood having a heat wave. I know it's happening in a few places across the country.
Oh yeah, a lot of places. Yeah. All right, everybody, stay cool.
Right.
You can follow me on Twitter at Ron Placone, ronplacone.com for information on that show, and I'll be announcing 23 dates soon. And follow Tina over at the District 34 podcast, and check out that full clip. Tina's full Modesto coverage is about 9 minutes of stuff. We just gave you a little sneak peek here, so check out the whole thing. And yeah, we'll see you next time. Thanks for being here. Smash that like button. Support independent journalism. And I hope I did okay on the 1s and 2s. Did I do okay?
You did okay.
All right. I'll take it. Okay is what I'll take. All right. Peace, y'all. See you next time.